Residents in Los Angeles County are waking up to continued mass devastation this morning, with thousands of homes and businesses now reduced to rubble and ash. You're looking at live pictures from the Pacific Palisades, courtesy of our affiliate KABC. At least 5 people have died in these fires, but officials expect that number to rise, sadly, as the most destructive fire is still 0% contained. CNN's Julia Vargas Jones is in Altadena. Julia, tell us what it's like there on the ground.
Well, Jake, scenes like this house is still on fire. It's street after street. And you see, this vegetation, dried out California vegetation that is so ripe to just ignite as the fire makes its way through construction materials and destroying people's homes, their memories, their lives in these homes. We see on my other side here, a neighbor has a gas leak that's been going for at least a few hours since we've been here. Firefighters working tirelessly to try and contain this. As you mentioned, 0% contained. This is the Eaton fire that has come down from the Angeles National Forest in the hills that are just behind Altadena and Pasadena, these cities just east of Los Angeles. And it's ravaged through these neighborhoods. We've witnessed people here trying to make their way back to their homes, trying to check on their homes, and being faced with just rubble, skeletons of what it used to be. Meanwhile, firefighters working 36, 48-hour shifts, and we have support from National Guard and firefighters coming from as far as Oregon to help fight this. The main aspect that might change the luck of these firefighters in the coming hours is the wind, Jake. I've described this event as kind of a hurricane of fire, and it's because the winds are the most important element here in the containment of this fire. Firefighters have had a lull for the past almost 24 hours of just being able to get some aerial support with the winds not being so high, but we are expecting for them to pick up back again this afternoon, Thursday afternoon, and it's anyone's guess what that could do. We're still looking at 10,600 acres out here in Altadena and in Pasadena and up in these hills. Who knows where that will go next? What I will say is the scale of this destruction is jarring. Driving through the streets, going through these neighborhoods, it is people's homes and it's businesses. It will take a really long time for these communities to get back to what they used to be, Jake.
All right, thank you so much. Let's go to meteorologist Derek Van Dam, who's in the CNN Weather Center. Derek, what kind of conditions are we expecting in the coming hours as firefighters attempt to contain these blazes?
Yeah, residents, Jake, in Los Angeles County were encouraged to hear the sounds of helicopters, see them drop their water on the firefighting efforts here. That is a big difference from 24 hours ago when they could not fly that aircraft. So now we're getting that aerial support, at least for the time being. So the wind, as Julia was saying, is so incredibly important, an important weather factor for the flames that are still ongoing. And right now, they're generally weaker than that was 24 hours ago. But I want you to see as we go through time, through the course of your Thursday, this area will see more Santa Ana winds, picking up in intensity, 60-mile-per-hour ridgetop winds, 40 to 50-mile-per-hour winds in the canyons, the valleys, and near the coastline as well in some of the hardest hit areas. We have to wait to Friday until we experience more calm weather and wind conditions. So when we look at the 5 fires that we're monitoring right now, the 5 large fires, we've got Palisades near the coast, but the Eaton fire just north of Pasadena coming down the mountainside, threatening these homes and continuing to burn this area. The shade of red, of course, are the already burned acreage that is currently ongoing. So spot fires will ignite new fires, especially as the Santa Ana winds pick up through the course of the day today. Now I'm going to take you into Santa Monica. There's the famous pier, the shoreline there, and then going into the actual, this would be the eastern flank of the fire, western LA County near Santa Monica. You can start to see the spiral effect of the residential communities here. This fire continues to encroach on heavily populated areas of the western LA County region. In fact, satellite imagery proves just that. What an incredible sight to see the charred homes from space on this recently released satellite image. I mean, just incredible, Jake, the level of destruction from these fires that's still ongoing.
Commander, thank you so much for being with us. We've been checking in with you periodically throughout this blaze, and we talked to you overnight about the Palisades fire burning in Pacific Palisades. Sarah was just talking about that. What is the status this morning?
Well, this morning, the fire is approximately 17,234 acres. Currently, the winds, we still are getting an offshore flow in the Santa Ana winds, but they have subsided since what we saw the first day and a half of this incident. You know, we have firefighters deployed throughout the communities all around the perimeter, and are really looking to make some headway today as we start to see the winds subside and really take an opportunity to extinguish any ignitions around structures, as well as establishing perimeter control around the incident.
The people should know that the pictures on your screen right now are live from Pacific Palisades. You can see those fires raging right now. Commander just told us 17,000 acres burned. Talk to us more about the conditions today. You do expect today to be more favorable?
Yes, we're still going to see, you know, threatening winds. I don't think they're not predicted to be the magnitude that we saw the first day and a half of this incident, when we were seeing sustained winds up to 50 miles an hour, gusts, you know, over 90 in some areas of the fire up at the ridge tops. So, you know, the challenges that were presented the first 2 days of this fire, day and a half roughly, where we're getting a massive ember cast and just spot fire and ignitions ahead of the main body of the fire and around structures. As the winds subside, we expect that to reduce today, but we'll be prepared, and we're continuing to bring resources in from across the state, as well as outside of the state of California through mutual aid, and to really hopefully, as the winds die down, we could start to get a little bit more progress on perimeter control today.
Do you anticipate more evacuations will be necessary?
That's a continuous evaluation throughout. It will be throughout the course of this incident until we, you know, have really solid containment. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will occur today, but we are always in the planning phase. We'll have messaging early if that does occur. But if the winds do die down today, we're hoping to make some significant progress.
How is water availability at this moment to fight these fires? I know in some places you were taxing resources.
Yeah, we did tax the water system the first day and a half. Worked with the local water agencies. They've been able to provide some supplemental water through water trucks, or what we call water tenders. It was a challenge early. No reports overnight of any issues with water pressure. We're bringing a lot more engines in ahead of the initial attack in that first day too, which allows us to be more mobile, move water around the incident, as well as requesting more water trucks. So we've worked around some mitigations for that, and the water system is starting to stabilize.
Well, that is good news. And we just showed pictures before of fighting these blazes from the air, a helicopter there. I know the fires were so fierce and the winds so strong at certain times that you were not able to do that. Are you able to get those air resources in at this time?
Yeah, we've had helicopter water dropping helicopters up working all night. You know, the first day it was very challenging. There was aircraft up, but we really have to gauge the safety and the effectiveness of what they're able to accomplish. So last night we had 7 helicopters up water dropping, as well as some aerial supervision and intelligence platforms. So that was a bonus, and really helpful as the winds died down, or were not at the scale they were the first day and a half of this incident.
Again, that is good news. 7 helicopters out working overnight. What's your biggest concern this morning?
Just going to be continue to be the winds, even though they might be predicted to not be sustained winds like they were. Any gust could throw an ember across the line. We could get ignitions around structures that were not impacted. So we'll do our due diligence, make sure that we continue to staff the areas of the fire that have the potential for structural loss heavily, and really look for those opportunities to gain perimeter control on this incident.
All right, Jim Hudson, I know it's been a long few days for you. It will be a long day ahead. Thank you so much for sharing all this new information.